Some places don't just change the way you travel, they change the way you see the world. Landscapes so vast, you can't help but feel small. Mountains so brutal, you can't help but feel overwhelmed. Roads so crazy, you can't help but feel scared.
Fuck!
We felt it all, and we want to take you along for the ride.
This is Off the Main Road in Central Asia. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. Just us, the truck, and a road heading east. For months, we crossed the vast and wild lands of Central Asia, chasing adventure, facing the unknown, and discovering the heart of the Silk Road. From the shores of the Caspian to the peaks of the Pamirs. This is what it takes to overland Central Asia. We crossed 11,785 kilometers in 96 days.
After being on the roads for 7 months, we came to the realization that we were a long way from home. All of a sudden, we found ourselves driving through the endless steppes. After detours, mishaps, and run-ins with the police, we finally arrived at the place we'd been so eager to reach. A place unlike anything we had seen before. The Uzbekistan National Reserve lies in this region, near the borders of Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. But if we tell you it's somewhere on the moon, you'd probably believe us as well. Entering Mangistau was like arriving on another planet. There were no signs of life, no buildings or cars, just dusty tracks, crazy rock formations, and an endless horizon.
From the beginning of the journey, it was clear. We wouldn't cross Uzbekistan. Too much hassle. Drones are banned, diesel is scarce and sold on the black market, and you're required to register every 3 days. But man, are we glad we changed our minds the last minute. Although the first 250 kilometers are straight from hell, we wouldn't want to miss the beauty that awaited us.
So impressive, so beautiful.
Honestly, if hell had a highway, it would be smoother than this one. Even the devil would steer clear. Khiva felt like a movie set, perfectly preserved, almost too perfect. From Khiva, we traveled to one of the country's most cultural and historical center, Bukhara. And once again, the beauty of its majestic architecture left us speechless. In the final city, Samarkand, we showed up thinking we knew what to expect. We didn't. Samarkand isn't just impressive, it's simply overwhelming. Before arriving, Uzbekistan had been nothing but an obstacle. Yet with every stunning city and every warm smile, this land transformed from a challenge into a dream destination.
So fucking beautiful. The ancient Silk Road cities faded in the rearview mirror. Ahead, the mountains rose like a challenge, daring us to push forward. Welcome to Tajikistan, a country full of towering peaks, winding roads, and raw, untouched beauty. A place where ancient traditions meet rugged adventure, and every turn holds a new surprise.
The journey started in the Fen Mountains, where we set out to discover the 7 lakes. Faced over 7 mishaps, and maybe just a few less emotional breakdowns. But hey, isn't it true that the most beautiful moments in life often require us to navigate through the most difficult ones? Both literally and metaphorically.
Since we clearly hadn't had enough of treacherous roads, we pushed onward, this time towards Aluden Lake.
How was the road?
Once again, pretty rough, but it was okay so far. We'll see. Maybe tomorrow. I hope it doesn't rain. And then everything will be okay.
Mountain weather has a mind of its own, and once again, it reminded us who's the boss. Conditions shift in the blink of an eye, and you have to be ready for anything.
Ready or not, the Pamir highway awaited. A route full of roadworks, majestic mountains and beautiful valleys. Here, the adventure isn't just in the rugged terrain, the high altitudes, or the massive trucks passing by. It's the constant battle with relentless roadworks that truly test your nerves.
The moment we had been dreaming of had finally arrived. Here we are, at the start of making a dream come true, driving the legendary Wakhan Valley, a place wrapped in mystery, where the people are as resilient as the mountains they call home. The Wakhan corridor truly feels like the end of the world. Afghanistan lies just across the river, its villages visible in the distance, so close, yet wrapped in a different reality.
The higher we climbed, the more everything seemed to slow down. Our thoughts, time itself, and the truck. Question of the day. What happens when dirty diesel, Euro 5 engines and high altitude collide? Correctly! You get a clocked DPF and a car in limp mode. With no remedy in Murgab, we waved goodbye to Tajikistan and pressed on toward Kyrgyzstan.
In Osh we found a small garage who managed to trigger a DPF regeneration. Problem solved. At least for now. With our truck running smooth again, we set off towards the landslide-scarred Kazakh Pass. The next leg of our journey took us from lush green mountain slopes to a valley painted in shadows of brown, red and ochre. The landscape felt like we had been transported to the American Southwest. Kyrgyzstan's diversity is simply unbelievable. One destination high on our bucket list was Songkul. The drive towards the lake was dramatic, with rain hammering down and lightning lighting up the sky. When we finally reached the lake shores, we waited for the weather to change. And once the sun broke through, the gloomy landscape transformed into a scene straight out of a fairy tale.
Currently we're parked on the outskirts of Narin, as you can see over there. We had to wait here for a day for our permit to head to Kolsu. Kolsu is a lake close to the Chinese border, hence why you need a permit. And yeah, now we're making ourselves ready to pick up the permit and go to Kolsu. Long day of driving, made it to a beautiful spot. And tomorrow we'll head further to Kolsu.
Good morning.
Ready for the hike?
Yes, I am.
Flo? Big stretch. After visiting the lake, we headed back north, with towering mountain peaks and stunning vistas guiding our way.
you'd probably be alright, but is it worth the risk?
Yeah.
To make sure no water gets inside.
I don't know.
Left hand down!
Ken, ruit naar beneden!
Left hand down! Left hand down! Left hand down, yeah, there's a big rock there, there you go. Yeah, all the way, yeah, there you go.
Hey!
Yes, Ken!
I'm gonna drive on this, and from this part I'm just gonna drive on fast.
Then came the most challenging part. The steep, unforgiving descent into the Birken Valley. Hairpin after hairpin, so tight our friends had to reverse them down. Inching backward as the valley dropped away beneath them. One slip and gravity would decide fate. The Tosser Pass feels like a metaphor for life. Unpredictable, relentless, but filled with moments of unexpected beauty. After days of challenges, the trek brought us back to Isikul shores. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we gathered for one last evening together, reliving the obstacles we had conquered and dreaming out loud about the journeys yet to come. It's on days like this, with mud on our boots and adventure still lingering in the air, that you feel it. The undeniable rush of being truly alive.
Back in Kazakhstan, a big surprise awaited Flo. We met up with Orla, Patrick and Louis to tackle some rugged off-road treks in southern Kazakhstan. 2 dogs, 1 instant friendship. 2 rigs and one hell of an adventure. Ahead of us awaited the unknown. Rough trails, steep climbs, and whatever challenges the mountains had in store. This wasn't just another drive, this was a test.
hard enough, Ken.
Ben nog leuk? Ah, denk dat het fijn. Oké, ik ga het vooruit.
Ja, wacht, we blijven nog even hangen. Ja? We celebrated too soon, but in moments like these, having two rigs makes all the difference. And luckily, there's little a winch can't fix. That's broken. Oh, what a route. That was heavy.
Exhausting.
Ready? Next part.
Yes.
Still happy?
The roads were relentless and treated us with challenge after challenge after challenge. The mountains don't care how tough your rig is or how badly you want to conquer them. They test you over and over and over again until you either break or prove you belong.
It's well deserved. The fuck is this?
So what's the plan? What's the thing? What's the problem?
Landslide.
Again?
Yeah. What's the problem? Look behind us.
Yeah, so we drove all the way around because we thought this was an easier route.
Yes. Not easy.
And then this extreme shit is coming.
The end. The end is so near.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is completely impossible.
After 3 days of conquering all the obstacles thrown at us by either getting our shit together or digging our way through, the final challenge proved itself unbeatable. A landslide had washed away the road completely and left us with only one choice: turn back and face all the challenges all over again.
And reflection of the day.
The day was a great success. Yes. Beautiful mountain passes, beautiful valleys. But unfortunately, the road was closed.
Retracing our steps, facing the same brutal climbs and relentless terrain not once, but twice, tested our morale. That's life in a nutshell. Highs and lows, victories and setbacks. No matter how many come your way, the key is to keep pushing through. Because sometimes the best journeys aren't about what you find at the end. They're about discovering what you're capable of along the way. The road fades behind us, but it never really leaves. Central Asia left its mark. In the dust, in the scars, in the stories we'll tell for years. As we drive further east, there's one question that lingers. Was it worth it? And the answer is simple. Absolutely. Alright, so to end this overview, we want to answer your questions so you can be prepared for this journey or whatsoever, or like, I don't know, we can take your doubts away and also start such an amazing journey. In the meantime, we have already made it to Laos. It's fucking cold, as you can see. We're like on top of a mountain, and we're actually heading to the Chinese border, so that's exciting. But first, let us answer those questions. So we have divided the questions in 4 categories, which is general, car, dog and money. So first let's start with general. How did you prepare? Did you research everything before starting this journey? I think, yeah, we did prepare, of course, a bit. Like in the beginning I was sending emails out to like all of the embassies and like, yeah, we want to do this, is this possible? And most of them never reacted, and some of them were like, oh, this is so difficult, you will have to need that paper and it's no, I don't think it's possible. But yeah, mostly we showed up at the border and it was no issue at all. But that was definitely some preparation we took. But mostly, I think during the journey, we often do it like day by day, like just see.
Yeah, we just see, or we have like a rough idea or rough plan of what we're going to do. And then, even then, plans change. You
can plan like in big lines, but I think a good tip would be like not to plan too much in detail and just see what day by day brings you.
For example, in our initial plan, we didn't have the idea of going to Uzbekistan. And eventually, I think a couple of days before we entered Uzbekistan, we said, oh, fuck it, let's just do it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And turned out to be a very good decision. So,
did you plan the visas and border crossings in advance, or is it possible to handle them at the border? So the only visa we did in advance, or the only 2 visas we did in advance, was Russia and China, which is not Central Asia. And I think even now for China, most nationalities don't need a visa anymore. But for Central Asia, we did not, as Belgian citizens, need no visa at all.
We could just get visa on arrival.
Ooh, this is a good one. What are the top 3 roads to drive and why?
The Pamir highway or the Wakhan Valley are really amazing routes to drive. I think they're not simple or they're challenging, but the views make up for everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think being like the passenger princess on the Wakhan Valley, because I had just like the most beautiful view on Afghanistan or whatsoever. That was definitely a route I will never forget, and one I recommend you to definitely do, like not only the M41 on the Pamir highway, but you should do the Wakhan Valley. It's like so amazing.
For me, I think another crazy one or another beautiful road was, of course, the Mangistau region in Kazakhstan.
Yes.
So this is out of this world. So the landscape is amazing.
Completely otherworldly. It's like, we already told you, it's like you're on the moon or something. It's like you have not seen anything like this before. And I think for me, I will also always vividly remember the drive to the 7 Lakes. It was also my birthday, and it was like we wanted to head towards the 7th lake before nightfall, but it was also the same day we crossed into Tajikistan. We crossed the border, so it was super stressy. We had a lot of mishaps and whatsoever, but it was so beautiful to like the drives there and the big lakes around.
Also
you.
challenging, of course.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Can we do 4?
Can we do 4? Yeah, you're allowed.
Because I think Tosor Pass in Kyrgyzstan was also
Very challenging.
also very challenging, but also crazy beautiful.
Yeah.
So there's so many beautiful routes in Central Asia, and yeah, sometimes they're pretty challenging, but you know, the views make up for everything. Is there anything you regret not doing, or a place you wish you had visited?
Ooh, I know this immediately. Yeah, I remember like in Tajikistan we had some issues with our car being at like high elevation, and the DPF was clogged and the car went into limp mode, so we actually needed to clear all of that. But of course there's like no proper garage or whatsoever in Murgab, and because of that we decided not to conquer the Bartang Valley, and it was something that was so high on my bucket list. So that was in the moment quite sad, but now we are already like, alright, but this gives us a reason to come back one day and challenge accepted for the Bartang Valley.
So yeah, we had to skip Bartang Valley, but just because of car issues.
Yeah.
So otherwise we would have done it.
Yeah, but we will do it one day, that's for sure. Other places you think of that?
Not really. I think we've done most of what we wanted to do, so
True.
yeah. No, I think that's about the only one. What would you do differently?
Ooh, differently regarding what? Regarding everything?
I don't know.
Yeah, general. What would I do differently? I think like, but it's still an issue with this moment. It's still a problem. This, not a problem, but kind of an issue till of this moment. It's like, don't stress too much, because there are some stressy border crossings from time to time. But eventually everything will always work out, and it's always a bit depending on the border guard in duty, how his day was and whatsoever. But as long as you are friendly and you have patience, everything will be alright, and that's regarding every encounter with a police officer. But still, now tomorrow we cross into China, and I'm once again super stressed of getting a flow into China. But it's a learning curve, but let this just be an advice from me to you, that don't try to stress too much about things up front, because you never know what's gonna happen, and you can never.
And it's not in
really
your
be
power,
sure.
so
No, so just try to relax and enjoy, and yeah, I think that's quite a valuable lesson that I'm still learning on this journey. What about you?
I wouldn't do anything differently.
No, nothing. Okay, wow.
Yeah, no, I think it's just, you know, I'm very glad with what we did, and the adventure's still ahead, and maybe I think we should have taken more time there or there, but then we would have missed out on other things. So actually I'm pretty glad with what we did so far. What was your favorite country?
This is so fucking difficult. So I wanted to say Tajikistan because of the experience on the Pamir highway and the Wakhan Valley, but I think it's gonna be Kyrgyzstan, because Kyrgyzstan is so crazy diverse. It's insane. Like, it's not even a big country, but you can drive a couple of kilometers, miles, whatsoever in any direction, and you just come across a completely different landscape. And it was really blowing my mind what we have seen there, and it's so beautiful. And that's also the country that I would say, like, that's where I definitely also want to go back to. So yeah, Kyrgyzstan for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite country, because
you need to answer the question.
no, but every country is beautiful in its way, or has its pros and cons, and so actually I fell in love with almost every country, but I get the point that Kyrgyzstan is a country that's crazy diverse.
Alright, so next category, the car. Have you considered what you will do if your car breaks down in a remote area?
So yeah, we try to prepare for this, so I have of course tools and, you know, some spare parts, or, you know, I think it would be able to fix certain things. But of course, bad things can happen everywhere. But on the other hand, what we also try to do is make sure that the maintenance is done, that we check the car up front, that the tires are okay, that the brakes are okay, that everything should be in a good shape or in a good state. So chances of breaking down are smaller, of course, but it can always happen. But so far, fingers crossed, of course, yeah, it didn't really happen. Of course, with the problems with the DPF in Tajikistan, but still then we were able to make it out.
Yeah, it's not that like Ken was a mechanic or something when we started this adventure, but I think with every month extra he's becoming more and more a bit of a mechanic, and you know, it's just quite important to get to know your car before you start this journey, know what the issues can be, like know.
Yep.
But still, you cannot prepare for everything, and then there will always be a solution in the end. So
in remote areas, you know, where you don't see that much people, still people you pass, they know that if they would be in trouble, then they would like somebody to stop, so they stop immediately. So I helped a couple of people out with flat tires or whatever, and I'm sure they would do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. 4x4 necessary, or can it be done in a van? 4x4 is definitely not necessary. We know a lot of people who did Central Asia, even made it to Southeast Asia without a 4x4. But I would definitely say it adds to the adventure and it adds to the fun. That's also because we really love to go off the main road and explore more of the beaten path destinations. But it's not necessary, it just makes life a bit easier. And there are some routes or some parts of some countries that I would not recommend going to without a 4x4. But in general, I do believe ground clearance is like the most important aspect to have. Yep. So make sure if you drive a van that it has at least a bit of ground clearance.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you can drive perfectly around or through Central Asia without 4x4, but you're gonna miss out on some very scenic routes or whatever, or you'll have to go hiking for a couple of days of these kind of things. But yeah, it's a nice to have, and it's very cool to be able to drive 4x4 in these remote regions, but it's not a must-have. So.
But we'd recommend it. How have you managed living in such a small space?
It's a challenge, of course, with 2 people and a dog in such a small space.
Hi. Hello. Alright, so in the meantime we have already made it to China. Last time when we answered the questions we got a bit interrupted by the military. And yeah, in the meantime we made it to China. So I think along the way we will answer some questions. Will we?
I think so, yeah. We'll try. So Charlie, how did you manage to live in such a small space with me?
Yeah, I think for us it became quite natural because we already lived in our box truck for like, I don't know, 4 years or something, so we were quite used to living in a small space. And when you live in your car, you know, your garden is like the world, so the world is your garden. So I think we really like it that when it's like rainy or whatsoever, that we still have the possibility to sit inside.
But it's not a tent.
Yeah, that it's not a tent. And what about you?
I'm tired of it. No, I'm very happy with the setup we have. And it's cozy, it's small, especially with the dog. But works out well. Welcome back to another episode of Ken and Charlotte answering all your questions.
It took a while. In the meantime, we are already in Pokhara, Nepal. So I think this is our 3rd attempt trying to answer your questions. but I promise now we will make it to the end.
Let's hope.
Is a carnet de passage needed back and forth from Europe? No, not at all. The only countries we would have to use our carnet de passage is like Iran, Pakistan, India, but regarding and Nepal, yes. But regarding Central Asia, there is no CDP needed, so that's quite handy if you want to travel through Central Asia. Do you have a shower and toilet in the car or a mini fridge? How do you manage these things while on the road?
So we have an outdoor shower, which is good, so we can take a shower every day.
True.
And we do. So we have also we have a toilet, but we also have a shovel. So most of the times when we are in nature, we just dig a hole and do our deeds in the hole.
Very handy.
Yes. In cities we use the toilet because just easier to not having to go out. And we have a fridge. Also,
very important, the fridge.
We took out the rear seats of the car and to have some extra space to store clothes or whatever, but also to place the fridge.
Then regarding the dog, she's making a lot of noise now. Was crossing borders with the dog difficult?
Actually, it was all pretty easy and everything went pretty smooth.
Yeah, true.
So at certain borders they asked for to see the passport, the pet passport. So we have a European passport, all vaccinations, we keep them all always up to date. And we have the rabies titer test.
Yeah, I think that's the most important paper that you will definitely need. But often, definitely in Central Asia, like people at the border, they, it's not the same as flying in with a dog through like airplane. The border guards at the land borders are often not so well informed as we actually are. And also a lot of times they were like asking for papers whatsoever, and we just have like a pile of papers in a lot of different languages, and if they would like be annoying and ask like more and more papers, we would just give out like random papers they couldn't translate or they couldn't figure out what it was, and most of the time, or actually all of the times, that really helped. So I think it's good when you travel with a dog to just have a pile of papers who looks official.
Different languages.
Yeah, a lot of stamps, a lot of signatures, and you'll come a long way.
Yeah.
Do you need any special documentation? Well, that's just the rabies titer test. I think that's definitely the most important one.
Some countries ask for
a health certificate.
A health certificate, yes.
Yeah, for example, they also needed, Russia actually also needs this when we went from Georgia into Russia, but we didn't provide it and nobody asked, so
yeah.
It's always a bit of a gamble though. If you want to be really sure, I would recommend you to get it.
But we have some standard papers that we filled out anyway with all documentation that we need. Just standard health certificate papers that we just fill out ourselves and then signed, and mostly this work.
Where does Flo sleep in the camper? Flo, well, actually she has a dedicated space provided for her to sleep under like the table. Like when we fold out the bed, like underneath the table, she has like her own cozy area. But often when the bed is already made and we are, for example, out at night, she just climbs up on the bed and we're okay with that.
Yeah, she can sleep in the bed with us, but she rather doesn't because we move too much. And
we make too much noise, then there's like a and then she jumps out of bed. Did you encounter any issues with stray or guard dogs?
Not really. We had one encounter with a pack of stray dogs in Greece, but in Central Asia actually we didn't. No. So mostly they're shepherd dogs, some guard dogs, but we try to watch out just know when there's car dogs close by, we don't let flow just roam free.
No.
And it's about it. So no, we never had really an encounter with guard dogs or stray dogs in Central Asia.
Fourth category, money. So how much did you spend on visas?
For Central Asia, we
didn't need any visa.
We didn't need any visa, so we can.
The only one, the only one we needed is the Russian one, and that was definitely the most expensive visa of our lives. We needed to cross Russia twice because we wanted to go to Mongolia, so we needed to cross Russia from Georgia into Kazakhstan and from Kazakhstan into Mongolia. And we had already left Belgium, so there was no way of obtaining that through like the Russian embassy in Belgium. So we went with like a separate agency, but of course, given the circumstances, the consular fees had doubled. So like eventually we ended up paying over 1,000 euros for just the multiple entry Russian visa. And we wanted to have multiple entry, but because by that time we weren't still sure if we would be able to cross the border into China with flow. And if that wasn't a possibility, then the only other way to head back home was to cross Russia once again twice. So that's why we felt more secure applying for the multiple entry visa. But you can try. You have to look it up because it's really depending on the months, and situations change really quickly regarding this. But for the moment you can easily get transit visas for Russia.
Yeah. So that was the only one we paid.
As Belgian citizens, that's maybe very interesting to know. How did you manage to save up for this ground adventure?
Well, actually, we have never had or owned an apartment or a house in Belgium. So we both worked full time and we lived in our box truck. So we lived in a van and didn't have anything to spend on electricity, rent, paying off loans.
No mortgage, no whatsoever.
Yeah.
So like we were able to save up a fair amount of money. Of course, we did this for 4 years. So we lived for 4 years in the box truck, which was of course not always that handy, and it was definitely only possible because we have a lot of friends we could park up, or like with my parents or his parents. We have a lovely relationship, so that's why we could do that for such a long time and save up a big amount of money to like start this adventure. So yeah, I think money-wise it's sometimes all about the life choices you make.
Yeah. So we lived on about 8 square meters for a couple of years. So it's cozy.
Yeah.
But that's the reason. That's thanks to this, like choosing this way of living, we were able to save up to do this trip. And now our living space is even smaller. So
Not for the moment though, as you can see we're currently in a hotel room, but that doesn't happen a lot.
yeah, true.
Really not a lot. Okay, so last question. How much did the trip cost you approximately? So first of all, I want to specify that this is like so personal. Like we know overlanders who like every week they're in a hotel, like every weekend whatsoever. We know families who never ever book a hotel. It's depending, do you always cook? Do you go out for dinner? How much fuel is your transportation consuming?
Yeah, do you drive a big truck, small car,
It's so
van,
depending.
whatever?
Some overlanders spend like 100 euros a day. I think we are mostly at like 50, 65 euros a day. If you would say like 65 euros a day, it's gonna be like 2,000 euros in a month. And some months that will be 1,000 euros. But other months we go to the garage and we have like a bill of 1,500 euros. So I just want to like give you an estimate of the global affair.
And this all includes fuel.
New tires,
so
dog
new
food,
tires.
which can also be very expensive if you want to have good dog food.
Good quality dog food in Central Asia is not
Yeah.
cheap. So
And the thing is, I think it can be done way cheaper. It can be done very cheap if you want it to be cheap. But we also love life, you know, like we made these decisions and we also like love some bottle of wine or go out for a dinner from time to time. So we'd rather like make the budget a bit bigger so we can still like enjoy life while the travel is going on, because we saved up for it for like 4 years. Yeah, what I also wanted to say is I think, for example, sometimes overlanding can be even cheaper than backpacking, because the thing is with backpacking is that you always need to find a hostel or a hotel or an accommodation. You mostly cannot cook, or even maybe if the accommodation like afford like a kitchen or whatsoever. So that's also a reason I think like overlanding is pretty nice, because you always have like your home with you. You can cook whatever meal you want, and that way it's also saving a lot of money comparing to I think backpackers. But please tell us in the comments if you think I'm completely wrong.
but especially I think in Central Asia, because Central Asia is not the cheapest destination. There's cheaper places on earth you can visit.
India, Nepal.
Yeah, like this, or even Southeast Asia. It's more cheap than Central Asia. I think simply because a lot of things just get imported. So food-wise, it's not that cheap. And same with accommodation. I think it's not that cheap. So.
No. Alright, but okay, I hope this answered some of your questions a bit. We're very sorry it took a while, but as experience over the last year and a half learned us, it's very difficult to have a big travel schedule and doing everything of this in between, but we love to do it and we want to take our time for it, so we'd rather like have some more time in between the videos and provide hopefully a bit more quality. But thank you so much for following these adventures along. You should see Flo, like really. Alright, this is Flo saying bye.